So, like I say, I kept asking what was the problem with Earth. Why are people denying me? Why are people withholding things? And why are people like doing all this stuff? And it's finally told to me, well, actually, they're not. What's happening is basically the president or the person in the White House is basically threatening everyone with nuclear annihilation if if they if they help you or whatever else like that or something like that. I guess it was Nixon or JFK like that. And like I said, they're withholding DNA testing and all kinds of stuff because it would prove that basically that JFK or Nixon was basically JFK and that there were clones. And so they were withholding DNA, the fact that we had DNA testing, but I have DNA testing from Germany or some other country or something like that, and basically we were still able to prove things, basically. And basically Nixon, and finally what happens is Nixon is threatening to nuke Detroit or some other state, basically, if they don't, do something or take out the genetics laboratory. And so basically, eventually, pretty much, Nixon is basically shown to be the psychopath that he is, basically, or JFK is basically. So pretty much, Nixon was threatening to nuke Detroit or a couple of, they said 3 cities. He was going to nuke 3 cities in America. But what did he care? Like I say, JFK was just some fuckhead that came along, and he was a crazy psychopath that used to call up people from the White House and expect reporters or TV hosts or TV news people to go fuck him in the White House or something like that. No woman could turn down JFK because if you did, you got locked up and you were tortured and your family was killed. Anyway, and that's the way they're maintaining power, and that's what they're doing. They would nuke the state or nuke the city or nuke whoever or kill whoever or lock up whoever. They were just psychotic. And that's how they're maintaining power in the White House or power in the Washington, D.C., was by being completely psychotic. They would kill and lock up or chop off anyone's arm that got in their way. But like I say, JFK really didn't have any power. They were just using the White Star money, or basically my financial money, to basically be able to do these things. But it's like, the White House belongs to me. Fort Knox belongs to me. That's my gold system. That's my communist Japan, China, and I invented communism. I invented the American financial system. I invented, the mining equipment and everything. So anyway, so like I say, this is why basically the Republicans and the Democrats and everyone else, this is why, basically JFK, Nixon didn't have any real power at all once you found out who he was and what he was and everything else like that. I mean, the White House doesn't have any money. They only barely, technically, actually, the White House isn't even connected to the Treasury. The White House just had White Star money, my money. So, and they were just using my financial, basically my trust fund. So Nixon was just basically getting access or using my trust fund to do all these things, which were bad. And they're actually broke. But they're trying to say they had money, but they didn't have money. They didn't even have access to the Treasury, technically. Because the Treasury and blah, 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 and most states keep money inside the states. Only a little bit actually goes to the government and goes to the White House. And that's actually my money. That's actually going there. So anyway, so like I say, basically, pretty much, and they were just using eminent domain and basically trying to use my money. Basically, like I said, the White House doesn't have any money. The White House was just trying to use my money, the Silver Star money, to say that to get all these things done. But it's like, no, they don't have control over my money. I'm still alive, and I'm here. I am Lucifer White Star. I am the one, and I can prove it, like I say. And then they were trying to do the Christ Cup. Who has the DNA of the Creator? And that's where Jesus Christ comes from. Because it was a cup, which supposedly had the Creator's DNA on it, but it didn't actually have the Creator's DNA on it. It had Richard Nixon's, or they just pretended to have DNA on it. And that's how the Vatican and the Pope and everything else got started, was because they had a cup. was supposedly had DNA or something, or somebody had seen the Lord drink from that cup or something stupid like that. I don't know. It's stupid. So anyway, and that's how the Vatican and everything else. And the Vatican, really, realistically, it's all bullshit. They walked into my old factories, and my old factories had gold and everything, and were very ornamental. Or blah, a lot of my buildings were really nice, and they just called them churches. And they're actually my old factories. So, like I say, the Pope doesn't really have any money. They already spent all the money. They already sold off all the gold and turned it into coins and spent every little bit of dime trying to get to where they were, which is a whole lot of nowhere. A whole bunch of people had really fun, great times, basically spent a lot of money and killed a lot of people and blah, 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 blah. And now the money's all gone. They're broke. And they basically have to turn to providing women to certain people, or getting access to the orphanages and asking little girls to have sex with these old guys, which may have money, or blah, 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 or something like that. And realistically, they're completely off on a cuckoo bend. And they were saying that they had immortality or knew the secret to immortality or blah, 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 but they really didn't. They have no power, they have no money, they have nothing. And anything they did have, they were putting into basically creating spaceships that would go to other colonies and be like, and that was basically Jimmy Carter, who's getting on the soapbox going, the wicked will be punished. But they weren't just punishing the wicked, they were killing everyone. And then just moving new colonists in, trying to say blah, 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 or something like that. I don't really know. I don't really care. Trace back to the Crystal Cathedral or something. So, anyway, like I say, I don't care. And that traced back to basically them saying, you're healed! But like I say, what they were using is twins. So they were just lying to a bunch of people, and that only took about 50 years or 60 years, and then it was proven that they didn't have any healing power at all. And they were not immortal or existential or anything. They were liars. And that was basically how Nixon and JFK and other people were getting money, through the Vatican. They were using the government to propagate this lie that basically, and trying to cover up, and using basically police to cover up the fact that it was twins that were actually sick, and the other twin would live. And eventually the other twins came forward and said, well, yeah, it sucks that my brother died, but at least we got a lot of money for it, or something like that. And that's what they do. You keep the secret, you sign the Secrets Act, and we'll give you money. Because they were getting more money. It was just a pyramid scheme. So, and that's how the churches were getting money. And they were giving the money to JFK or Jimmy Carter or something like that. So all these things come out, And so, and meanwhile, Rodney's like, the Republicans are right. But the Republicans aren't right. They're just, what they do is they cut budgets, and then they just put the money into their pockets. Mostly because they had to keep bribing people because of all the bad stuff they had done. So they had to keep cutting programs or keep making more money to basically be able to put more money in their pockets, to bribe more people, to keep everything that JFK and Nixon and everyone else was doing a secret. Because they're really fucking horrible. I mean, they were going into German houses and basically killing a bunch of Germans and then taking the stuff and having the party in the streets. Nixon was fucking nuts. JFK was fucking nuts. And even worse, there's also Papa, who got kicked out of Warsaw, who wanted to become a Black Plague and basically was getting the Bloods and the Crips to basically give him bombs or something so he could blah, 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 blah. And he ends up carpet bombing or nuking a whole bunch of cities or something like that. And is supporting JFK. So, now they're all dead. Or soon to die. And it's like, well, yeah. So, anyway, I don't know how they ever thought they could get away with it. But, whatever. And now you're just left with the bag, basically. Of course, then we have the Trumpy and Trumpy's son's psychotic behavior. And basically, John McCain was trying to cover up for what they were doing with the White Star submarines. And his rape videos and stuff like that. Rape films. Anyway, so, and everyone's just left with holding the bag.